Well, welcome again to another short devotion here on the YouTube channel, Embassy of Hope. I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching, and hopefully today you'll learn a little bit more about the lost virtue of humility. This is part one of this series, and it's going to be a number of segments, number of devotions on this topic. So I hope you're able to tune in now and then at your leisure. This journey looking at humility started with myself, my own self, discovering my own pride, my own arrogance. I've been part of the church for well over 40 years now, and I can honestly say that the virtue of humility is little known. It's rarely taught, rarely seen as important, probably because humility is just really not understood in American Christianity. It just seems like a lost virtue. I find a real disconnect from the virtue of humility that has happened, it seems, over a long period of time. And I can only speak concerning my own lifetime and experiences, but I'm hoping that a few of you will come to understand as we go through these each segment on humility, that you'll come to understand the great power, the great virtue of the humility of Christ Jesus. Because pride, the opposite of humility, it's hard to pin down because pride is a master of disguises. Pride can cover itself with good works and spiritual deeds and honest work and integrity. And pride can easily find a home in the most spiritual of settings. We can literally fill church buildings to overflowing and have outreaches and clothing banks and converts and baptisms and great preaching. And pride will be there somewhere in the background, either with us or in us or both. Pride is really the root of every known sin in humanity. Pride is the soil where self satisfaction and self exaltation is able to grow. Pride is behind all the wars and all the disagreements of men throughout history. Pride is behind all the divisions of thought and purpose. Pride has created over 9,000 denominations, Christian denominations, Protestant denominations, not counting the Catholic Church, around the world, because they somehow disagreed over something and broke off and started a new one. Pride has given the right for many within each one of those denominations to give their loyalty and boast concerning their group and their organization and what they're doing and how great their services are and their pursuits are. Pride is the sole reason, dear friends, that angels fell from the highest heaven. Pride is the poison that has entered the soul of the first man, our forefather, as he desired, it's written, to be like God and know both good and evil. So the verdict is in. From the beginning, there is nothing more natural, nothing so incredibly opposite of God, nothing so hidden from our own sight and our own understanding, and just nothing so difficult to remove as this silent enemy of pride. The first Adam solely represents how this infectious poison of pride has come into the world. While the last Adam, the Bible tells us, Jesus Christ, brought with him the humility of heaven. Jesus, if you read his teachings, He has taught so much about the virtue of humility, and yet even those that followed him, the disciples, they couldn't grasp the gravity after walking with him for over 3 years of how pride has literally infected their souls. I mean, those 12 disciples, there was times that they even had contention among themselves as trying to argue and debate who is going to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And this is after walking with Jesus for over 3 years. Yes, pride has a firm hold, friends, on the souls of men. You may even be a preacher. You may have this huge sphere of influence, but this doesn't exempt you from the poison of pride. Chances are it's probably feeding it and giving new life to it more than anything. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you can be homeless or poor, and you still need redemption from the grasp of this master of humanity called pride. I want you to consider something. Consider how Jesus was described by those who wrote the Bible, the New Testament. What words did they use to reveal to us who Jesus was? What was his nature? What was his character as he walked on earth? You know, the Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Philippians, he writes this: in your relationship with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus did, who being in the very form of God by nature, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, Jesus made himself of no reputation. He took the form of a servant, being made in human likeness, being found as a man, appearance of a man. He literally humbled himself by becoming obedient even unto death, death on a Roman cross. So, in closing this segment today, I want to let us ask ourselves some questions. If someone asked you to describe Jesus, are these the characteristics that you would use? The same ones that Paul used in his letter to the Philippians. Maybe ask yourself, are you using your relationship with God for your own advantage, to boast about how your life is so much more advantageous now that because of your ministry and your walk and what you're doing better? And I mean, are we making ourselves nothing in the sight of the world, caring not about our own personal self exaltation and reputation? Is that who we are? Is that what we see out there in the church world? Is that what the world sees? Are they seeing us as servants that care nothing about being noticed or bragged on or boastful? Are we finding joy in living in the humility of Jesus, living each day for the Father's will, for his honor? And so in the next segment, part 2, we'll continue to discover the lost virtue of humility. Something to think about, dear friends. Until next time, may God bless you.